So this video may come at like a juxtaposition to my previous video, the 50 back-to-back Gambit matches, but it's more or less a topic that I've been thinking about since the launch of Shadowkeep and the weeks after it. I would even consider these topics to be personal problems since the launch of Rise of Iron back in 2016, but those circumstances were widely different to how they are in 2019 and going into 2020. The first topic that I want to discuss in the video is on something that has been problematic to my own personal connection with the current state of Destiny, and that main problem is, well, burnout. But Connor, why did you do 50 games of Gambit? Of course you're gonna burn out, blah blah blah. I mean, you obviously aren't wrong about that at all. I really don't want to play Gambit for a very long time, but the issues, they stretch out farther than just that. The first week of Shadowkeep's launch, I expressed my concern with the use of Destiny 1 content being shifted into the nightmare hunts and the campaign, and the reusing of assets, which was like, a cool blast from the past, but it didn't capture me nor intrigue me as much as Forsaken had done a year prior. The new armor and Nightfall systems, they're fantastic, but it's still retreading the same waters of content that I've been playing for the past year to 2 years, with like no real redeeming quality to do them except for minning and maxing, which to me, and going for your pinnacle level and all this crazy stuff that you can do as a hardcore player, which to me, I'm not really that much into because I've kind of turned into more of a casual player as of recently, and all of that is because of the problem of the meta in the game. The meta in Destiny 2 has this problem of either being stagnant for a very large amount of time or rapidly changing due to tweaks, nerfs, and buffs that sometimes aren't really necessary. When the meta is stagnant for a long time, such as Striker Titans, handheld Nova Bombs, Middle Tree Night Stalker, One-Eyed Mask, Recluse, Mountaintop, Well of Radiance, and all of this stuff, thankfully a lot of this has gotten nerfed, and all the other stuff is on its way to being nerfed finally. But after what, like a year, multiple seasons, months of this stuff just being OP, and pretty much if you don't use it, you're a detriment to your team or yourself as a player. It becomes a tiresome event to where you can't really experiment with other weapons because you're bringing your team down, or you're just not being as efficient as you could be if you used, Recluse or something like that. The gameplay then becomes stale and a chore to play against when trying out new things makes you feel sluggish and ineffective after being so used to what is the long-term meta. Bungie has tried to passively rectify this with the addition of the season artifact that includes meta-making mods, but the time it takes to fix long-term metas really needs to be fixed or looked into more. It's clear that balance in Destiny doesn't work at all. We've seen what a harsh attempt at balance has done to the game from year one of Destiny 2. So I think a way to rectify all of this is to make season metas more apparent than not just from mods, but from armor and weapons as well. Why not create a season where hand cannons are the most potent in PvE, and then SMGs are more potent in PvP? Why not create a season where using class abilities gives you more of an edge and are more potent? But don't make these a year plus long meta that seemingly get ignored for the sake of allowing people to feel, quote, powerful. I think more active tweaks to meta and meta items should be made season to season. This helps a lot with breaking the mold of Burnout and probably would make doing content in even previous content more enjoyable and, well, maybe challenging in the long run. I really don't want another event of being stuck with months and multiple seasons of standing in a well with Mountaintop Recluse ever again. So a bit of this might have been confusing. All I really want is for from season to season, bring certain items up, test them out over that season. If they are a bit too OP the next season, go ahead and bring them down a notch. Not randomly and wildly, and not really giving a time scale to when these items are going to be fixed. They should be fixed within the next season, so that way, they get some time to shine, they're allowed to have some fun with it, but you gotta tone it down after a while. So I want to talk about a bigger and more pressuring issue with the new season structure. That is FOMO, or otherwise known as the fear of missing out. season structure has a lot of limited timed events that can only be done within a season. This includes the season's title, the seasonal arena with the weapons attached to it, seasonal triumphs, premium season pass, as well as any seasonal events that may happen during it, such as Festival of the Lost. Out of these, I do think that, maybe seasonal triumphs and seasonal titles, they should obviously be encased during a season, so that more engaged players can earn something that no one else has later on in the game cycle. I'm completely fine with time gating titles and stuff like that. I think titles should be, harder to get and should be only maybe acquired by a certain amount of people. This gets people playing daily as well as whenever all the content comes out. I think, locking behind season titles and stuff, it's fine. It's fine where it is now. I think my biggest problem with FOMO comes in the form of the seasonal arena, the weapons, and season events that happen. With meta changes happening at what seems to be randomly at this point, grinding for weapons in a season arena becomes, pretty problematic. Recluse has been reigning supreme, but its days are numbered. At the beginning of the season, there was almost no reason to grind Vex Offensive for those weapons because they were all primaries, and kinetics and energy primaries. Primaries that were pretty much useless because Recluse seemed as though it would be, in its most powerful state for the time to come, like it had for months prior. But now that its potency is going to be changed with incoming nerfs, some players are kind of frantically playing Vex Offensive to try to get rolls on stuff like Subjunctive and maybe other primaries to replace their soon-to-be defective Recluse. But there's only like a couple of weeks left to even get this done. There's only a couple of weeks left to finish up your premium pass. There's only a couple of weeks left for season titles, which only can now be finished because of the final Assault Vex Offensive change. There's only a couple of weeks left to do some mindless activities and forcing of Gambit, Crucible strikes, and more to feel accomplished and complete within the season. This is the problem with FOMO in the current season structure, as well as having to wait for time-gated content to drop to finish up a lot of milestones. You literally have to chart out your playtime on a calendar to get certain objectives done, to where it almost feels like you're doing chores than really having fun doing this stuff. Let's not talk about all the RNG hidden behind titles, because that is so much fun. Yeah, totally fun. So if you combine all these problems of FOMO with that of burning out from other monotony, the game starts to drift away from your daily playing. I mean, that's at least what's been happening to me as of recently. When Forsaken dropped, I was probably playing upwards of 30 hours a week in the game, possibly even more at the time when I didn't have a job. I do work now, but even when I was working, I was still putting in a lot of hours into Destiny. With Shadowkeep, you're lucky to see me get even 10 hours into the game over the span of a week, not counting the 50 games of Gambit, which took, I don't even remember. So the only way I feel like to really fix Burnout is to have more scheduled meta changes that break up the dullness of using the same weapon, your same armor, your same build, without having to lose potency and strength as a player. Maybe look back at some weapons, some rolls, and some exotics. Maybe reshape them, retool them, just to be more in line with meta and make you a stronger player. Then maybe pull back on some more used items and have a consistent rubber band of meta changes from season to season to help with the burnout, as well as help with, fear of missing out problems, so that people enjoy doing sometimes monotonous tasks in the game. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about burning out and FOMO. Let me know in the comments or on Twitter or whatever. It's been kind of hard for me to really want to log on and play the game. Even before I did the Gambit project, I was like really dreading doing it, but I wanted to make a statement about it. And right now, I just don't feel like hopping on Destiny. Maybe because the content is feeling reused, or because Season of Undying was, pretty pathetic, but that might be because it launched with Shadowkeep. We don't know until the next season. So thanks for watching the video, and catch you guys later.